No. All right, we're up to chapter 46, verse 26. I see it on the screen. Hey, Simon is on vacay. There's a Chumash, take a Chumash. Chapter 46, verse 26. The Pasuk tells us, sit right down next to me, my dear friend Simon. Kol nefesh haba Yaakov, all the souls that came with Jacob to Egypt, Yotzei Yerecho, were issued from him, Milvad Neshei B'nei Yaakov, aside from the wives of Jacob, Kol nefesh shishim v'sheish, all the souls were 66. Let's look at the Rashi. Kol nefesh haba Yaakov sheyatzu me'eretz Canaan, who left the land of Canaan, Lavo Mitzrayim, to come to Egypt, meaning to say in the present tense. It's not the past tense, but rather it's the present tense.
Wait, what passage?
Verse 26, Chavav, chapter 46, verse 26. Do you have the page, Eitan? What page is it?
254.
254, Simon.
Got it.
And so therefore, and then Rashi says, K'sheyatzu avo me'eretz Canaan, when they left to travel from Canaan, lo hayu ela shishim v'sheish, they were 66. But the second time it appears, it says, Kol nefesh ha'beis Yaakov haba Mitzrayim shivim, we're 70. That's in the past tense. So, okay, then Rashi records something here. Once they arrived there, Hayu Shivim, they were 70. Shemachu Sham Yosef Ushnei Vanav. They found there Joseph and his two sons. V'nitos v'lem Yocheved, and Yocheved was added Bein Achomot. She was born between the walls. Now Rashi says something powerful. U'divrei ha'omer, and according to the one who says to omot noldu, according to the one who says that twin girls were born in Mashvatim. Tzrichim anu omar shemetu lifnei yeridatam Mitzrayim sharego nimnukad. Rashi says something real. Hi Seth, how you doing? Rashi says something really disturbing. Rashi says, how could there be 70? Because there's an opinion that says in Bereshit Rabbah, and Rashi himself cites this in chapter 35, verse 17, that there were twin girls born with every tribe. So if that's the case, where were these extra 12 girls? So we have to say, Rashi says that they all died before they came down to Egypt, because they're not listed here. Seems just very macabre.
But according to just the simple words of the verse, it can't be that all these sons and grandsons of Jacob had only boys. So
of course,
we
can't
the boys, and that's it. And all the girls.
It can't be that they only had boys. They only mentioned the girls that were relevant to the story.
Right. So Dinah, Sarah, and Rocheved.
But Rashi, I'm just saying, but the Rashi that I'm not worried about the Pshat, I'm worried about the Rashi. Rashi's saying that you need to say that all these girls died rather than say that they were there, they weren't counted. Rashi says they were there, but they weren't there, they died. Anyway, then Rashi says
they don't even count Osnat.
Right. Then Rashi says, very good point. Matzati b'Vayikra Rabbah, I found. Oh, so I thought you weren't here when I made this announcement that Rabbi Yosef is teaching a shiur every day, starting Friday, 10 minutes on halacha, starting this Friday, and then he's going to do it every day, but we're not sure if he's doing it on Christmas. Okay. And he's not going to do it Sundays. Matzati b'Vayikra Rabbah, Esav sheish nefashot hayulo. Esav had 6 souls in his family. He had 2 daughters and 4 sons. V'akatuv koreotan nafshot beito. The verse calls them the souls of his household, in the plural. L'fishayu ovdun leelohut harbe. They served many gods. But Jacob, shivim hayulo. Jacob had 70 family members. V'akatuv koreotan nefesh. The Torah calls them one soul. It says all the soul that comes down in the singular. L'fishayu ovdin lakel echad. Because they worshipped one God. Very, very powerful Rashi. That if we all worship one God, we're called soul in the singular. And if we worship many gods, even if it's less people, we're called nifashot. Yes, Jerry has a question.
The Sefaria translates Esau's family consisted of only 6, and in parentheses, Sefaria says himself and his 5 sons. You indicated that part of the 6 were daughters.
Yes, because I was basing myself upon the footnote here, and I'll read it. It's a very disturbing footnote. We have a lot of disturbing material here in this. It seems like an innocuous verse, but this is the second disturbing teaching. Sefer Hayashar says that Esav had 2 daughters. The 6 souls are thus his 2 daughters and 4 sons. Korach, son of Esav's wife, Aholivamah, is not a son of Esav. He was the son of Esav's wife. He was the product of an incestuous, adulterous union between Aholivamah and Esav's son Eliphaz. So Eliphaz, Esav's son, had a union with Esav's wife, and that made Korach. So I'm basing myself on Sefer Hayashar. I don't know what Sefaria is basing itself on. Okay. Now we have the next verse, a very, very important verse. Well, not the next verse, but 2 verses, very important. Yosef asher yulad lo b'Mitzrayim nefesh shnayim kol nefesh al beit Yaakov haba Mitzrayim shivim. Children of Joseph that were born to him in Egypt were 2 souls. Every soul from the house of Jacob that came to Egypt was 70. 70. Now, that Yehuda shalach ufanav al Yosef. Yehuda was sent before him to Joseph. Horot lefanav Goshna. The word horot is like moreh, to instruct before him in Goshen. Mayavo arza Goshen, and he came to Goshen. What does it mean? What does it mean? Judah was sent before him to Joseph. What could Judah be doing there? This is one of the very important Rashis, very, very important Rashis for us, for all of us sitting here. His job was to clear a place and to instruct how he's going to live there. Meaning to say, he's telling us how to live there. But Rashi says, the Midrash tells us, Morot lefanav letakein lo beit Talmud shemisham teitzei hora'ah. That Judah's job was to establish a Beit Talmud. So to make from there a place from which instruction shall go forth. Meaning to say he had to set up a yeshiva. That's why Judah was sent down there. Jacob was saying, we can't move down there until you have a little cheder or a Beit Talmud. I want to just say that there was a man who actually had a very big impact upon me, passed away a few months ago, Rabbi Nachmanson, and I want to mention his name because the name of his institution was called Beit Talmud. Beit Talmud. Rabbi Nachmanson was one of those people who was brilliant, very kind soul, but also the world wasn't pure enough for him. So it's a tragic life, tragic loss. But he had a big impact on me. And actually, he was the first one who told me to start a yeshiva. I don't know if I ever told you that story. He said to me, we need a yeshiva in Washington, D.C. And I actually took him to a few places to look for places to start the yeshiva. Anyway, he called his institution Beit Talmud.
Is that Rav Nachman that you used to pray with in Oev Shalom?
Yeah, he used to. He was very unusual.
You see him on Zoom all the time.
Yeah, very unusual because, he was one of those people that I would not be surprised, like when he gets up to heaven, that they have secret ledgers of all his deeds. He would sleep in his car. Then when I was at OAV, we arranged that he could stay in the shul during COVID because nobody was really there. So he moved into the apartment there. It was a little underground. Nobody really knew because people might not have allowed it. But the building was shut down. It was COVID. So he would go and stay in his car for 3-4 days and just teach the Rebbe's teachings. Anyway, his institution was called the Beit Talmud. Yeah, Jerry had a question.
Yes, where is his institution located?
That's another thing. What happened was, I don't know if anybody here knows the story about his institution. He would just get in the car. And then he just drove. And he drove to this place in Pennsylvania. And there was just an abandoned building, abandoned shul. Nobody wanted it. And he just did his thing of camping there and squatting until he got it. And that was called the Beit Talmud. And he started it. But what happened was with him, he actually was a very, very successful shliach. And he started the Chabad in a lot of powerful places. But then he had a falling out with traditional Chabad. So for reasons that I don't want to get into, he was one of those people, like I said, he was too pure for the world. Like the world couldn't handle him. But he taught me a lot. He taught me a tremendous amount. Beit Talmud.
He left behind a big family, like 8, 10 kids.
More.
12 maybe.
More.
Yeah.
More. Like 15 or 16.
15 or 16 kids.
Yeah.
And he fixed my tefillin.
Yeah. No, he went by. I met his wife. I know that. It's a whole complicated mess.
Wow.
Yeah. So, Jerry, you had a question.
Does the institution still exist? Is it teaching kids or adults?
No, there was, when he had this institution, it was in the middle of, it was in a place where there weren't any Jews. So I don't know how much it existed when he was there, but he called it that. He was a dreamer. He believed he was a dreamer. And he spent a lot of time very close to the Rebbe. So anyway, all right. So he also showed me a lot about Safros. Because he was a sofer. He knew how to do it. No, he's not. No, he was like auxiliary. Like none of the other rabbis in the community wanted anything to do with him because he was ostracized from his community. But I'm telling you, he taught me a tremendous amount. Okay, so now the next verse tells us, Vayeser Yosef Merkavto, and Joseph girded his chariot. Vayalakrot Yisrael Aviv Goshna. Oh, this Rashi is one of my favorite Rashis in the whole Torah. I love this Rashi so much. And so Joseph girded his chariot. He went up to meet his father Israel at Goshen. Vayera Ilav, and he appeared to him. Vayipol Tzavarav, and he fell on his neck. Vayev got Tzavarav od, and he cried on his neck more. Okay. What does that mean? Rashi says, he himself harnessed his chariot. Asarat hasusim. He harnessed the horses on Merkava to the chariot to be quick for the honor of his father. Okay, he harnessed his own chariot. Yosef Nirel Aviv. And Joseph appeared to his father. Now here's the Rashi. And he cried on his neck excessively. Joseph sees him and he cries. Can imagine this meeting after all these years. Joseph increased in his crying. More than the norm. But it doesn't say that Jacob was crying. Jacob does not fall on the neck of Joseph. Why? What's Jacob doing? He didn't kiss him. V'amru Rabboseinu, and our rabbi said, Shayakorei Shema. Jacob was reciting the Shema. So Yosef sees his father after not seeing him all these years, and he falls on his neck and he cries. But Jacob, at that moment, says, I have to recite the Shema. One time, there was a wedding of a great rabbi and his daughter. Right when the chuppah was over, everybody stands and goes, no, mincha. So, I don't understand. Why does Yaakov have to recite the Shema at that exact moment? What is it about that moment that he has to recite the Shema? That's what he has to do. So, anybody have an answer?
He's so happy that he's praising God.
Okay, so that's the answer that they say here in the name of the Kotzker Rebbe. When Jacob saw Joseph before him, he experienced such a tremendous outpouring of love. He felt that he should channel this love toward God, so he immediately recited the Shema. That's a powerful answer. Yeah.
You can say the answer that he thought he was going to reach the end of his life, so he said the Shema because he said this must be,
Beautiful answer also, because that's the next verse. He thinks he's going to die. But there's, let me just say that the Gemara tells us that what is the meaning of the word Shema? Shema Yisrael. You heard this, Simon?
No.
That they say that Jacob, when he sees his children, wonders if they're going, not here, but at his deathbed, wonders if they're really going to maintain their connection to Hashem, or they're going to become assimilated. And they say, no, listen, Israel, listen, our father Jacob. Hashem is our God. Hey, Richard. Hashem is our God. Hashem is one. And so that here we could understand, we're on, what page are we on, Simon?
255.
255 in that book. So you could understand here that Jacob at this moment was saying a prayer that Joseph accept the yoke of heaven upon himself. And he sees him there. He sees Joseph in his glory. And he recognizes that this is a person. He sees Joseph in his glory, and he recognizes that he's accepted Hashem at that moment. And that's why he says that's the moment to say that I accept Shema, I accept the yoke of heaven upon myself at the moment where I have this tremendous success. So you could look at it like the Kotzker Rebbe says it's coming out of love, but you could also look at it that when you reach this just tremendous political achievement, you accept the yoke of heaven upon yourself. But I just find it very powerful that the rabbis, it's not in the text of the Torah, the rabbis understand Yaakov at that moment of reunion to recite the Shema. I want to tell you another story about the Shema. Okay, I've never told anybody who the name of this person is, and I'm not going to say who the name it is. But I was once on a train from I don't know if anybody ever hear the story. I was once I rushed to get a train from Amtrak. I rush, and I had to buy the ticket. I bought the ticket from New York coming home. I didn't realize that the whole train was sold out. I just put the thing in and they put me in first class. Okay, because everything was sold out. I didn't even realize. It was like an extra $100, whatever. So I'm sitting there in the first class. Oh, no, but I didn't realize I bought the first class ticket. So I went to sit down and coach. And they said to me, no, you have to move to the first class. So I had to move to the first class. And it's no big deal on Amtrak. Sorry. But I'm sitting there and I'm reading an incredible book, which I highly recommend, by Norman Lamb called The Shema. Norman Lamb of blessed memory, Rabbi Norman Lamb. And I'm reading this book, and this man next to me says, oh, you study the Shema? I also study the Shema. My daughter is dating a Jewish boy, and we believe in Jesus, and he's Orthodox, and And so we study the Shema, and she agrees to meet him halfway to become a Jew for Jesus. That's what she said. She agrees to meet him halfway and become a Jew for Jesus. And I said, I don't think that's halfway. I don't think that's halfway. But then he told me the name of the boy. And that was a boy I knew. The boy came to Ohev. And so it was like shocking, like I'm sitting on an Amtrak. So I called the boy afterwards and we were able to have a conversation about it. I didn't push him in any direction. I was just there so he could talk, but they didn't end up getting married. Just saying, they broke up after that because they realized they're both deeply committed to their faith. It's not going to work if you're both deeply committed to. She's deeply committed to Jesus, and he's deeply committed to the Torah. So okay. Anyway, I'll never forget that. Anyway, that's the Shema. So I never forget this Rashi. So now Yaakov Avinu says, Vayomer Yisrael, and Jacob says to Joseph, Amusa apam, I will die this time. Achrei re'osi es panecha, after I see your face, ki otcha chai, because you're still alive. Rashi says, Amusa apam, I can die this time. Like Uncle said, meaning to say, were I to die, I would be consoled. He's saying, even if I die now, I'll die happy. Umidrasho, and what does the midrash here mean? Savura yiti lamut shtei mitot. I thought I was going to die 2 deaths. Ba'olam hazeh ve'olam haba, in this world and the world to come. Because the divine presence had departed from me. Shenistalkami meni shrina. Vayiti omer, and I used to say, Sheitbeini HaKadosh Baruch Hu mitatecha. And I used to say that the Holy One would claim your death from me. Achshav she'otcha chai, lo amut ela pam achat. Now that you're still alive, I'll only die 1 time. Okay.
Rabbi Goldman, we need the Rashi in English.
It's there. Okay. So now the next verse states, so basically that verse was telling us that Jacob lost his divine prophecy when he thought Joseph was dead. And why do you lose your prophecy? Because in order to prophesize, you need to be in a place of joy. And he was in a place of sadness. You can't prophesize from a place of sadness. Why not? Because I guess the idea is you need to experience the just overwhelming love for God. And if you're sad, I guess you're not able to do that. It's hard to say. But he wasn't able to prophesize all these years. Verse 31, Joseph said to his brothers and to his father's house, Joseph said to his brothers and to his father's household, I will go up and I will say to Pharaoh, and I will say to him, my brothers and my father's household that were in the land of Canaan, they came to me. So Joseph is going to have to go to Pharaoh. Rashi says, and I will tell them, I'll say this to him. And then in addition, I'm going to tell them that they're shepherds. Vanashim, we'll just do this last verse. Vanashim ro'et zon. These people were, the Joseph's brothers were shepherds. Kanshe mikneayu. They brought all their cattle. You had a question, Jerry, before we stop?
Yes. How did Judah